Welcome to Express Tribune Headlines. Shaheen Shah Afridi's precise bowling and half-centuries from Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam led Pakistan to a 6-wicket win over Ireland, securing a 2-1 T20I series victory in Dublin. Despite Lorcan Ducker's spirited 73 propelling Ireland to 178, Pakistan's batting strength, aided by Ireland's weak bowling and fielding, made the chase straightforward, finishing with 3 overs to spare. In an intelligence-based operation in Balochistan Zob district, an army officer, Major Babar Khan, was martyred and 3 terrorists were killed, as reported by the military's media wing. The operation involved intense fire exchange leading to the recovery of weapons, ammunition, and explosives. A sanitization operation is ongoing to secure the area further. The incident underscores Pakistan's ongoing struggle with heightened terror activities, particularly in Balochistan and KP, after the recent end of a ceasefire with militant groups. The Chief Justice of Pakistan, Qazi Faiz Isa, directed the government to enable PTI founder Imran Khan, who is currently incarcerated, to participate via video link in a case regarding changes to the country's accountability laws. The case, heard by a 5-member Supreme Court bench, involves Imran's challenge to the 2022 amendments made by the previous government, which he claims were designed to protect influential figures and allow corruption. The court had earlier restored corruption cases that had been dismissed under these amendments and is now considering intra-court appeals that could potentially restart proceedings based on procedural grounds. The Pakistani government refuted allegations made in a leaked letter by Justice Babar Sattar of the Islamabad High Court, claiming intimidatory tactics by security agencies in an audio leaks case. The letter, which gained attention on social media, reportedly addressed pressures to curtail scrutiny of surveillance legality. Attorney General Mansoor Awan emphasized that such communications were meant to be internal and aimed to ensure national security concerns were discussed in camera, dismissing suggestions of judiciary interference. The situation has escalated public discussions on judicial independence and state surveillance practices. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced that Pakistan will privatize all state-owned enterprises except those deemed strategic to create a business-friendly environment. The decision extends beyond the initial focus on loss-making firms, directing a transparent process that includes live broadcast privatizations starting with Pakistan International Airlines. A comprehensive privatization plan for 2024 to 2029 was discussed, emphasizing the prioritization of loss-making entities and the inclusion of power distribution companies. Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb and Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar underscored the necessity of reducing government involvement in business, opening opportunities for both local and foreign investors. A study led by former senior U.S. policymakers emphasized that the United States needs to move beyond the trauma of past wars and enhance counter-terrorism efforts due to growing threats from Afghanistan and Pakistan. The study stresses that while the focus has shifted towards global competitors, threats from extremist groups like the ISIS Khorasan and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan are intensifying, exploiting opportunities to regroup and plot attacks from Afghanistan. The report advocates for a more proactive military approach against these threats and urges the US to improve intelligence capabilities and collaboration with Pakistan to safeguard its interests in the region. Pakistan has launched negotiations with the International Monetary Fund on a new expansive bailout program, starting with a fiscal adjustment of over Rs 1.6 trillion in the upcoming budget. The discussions, led by Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb and IMF's Nathan Porter, aim to build on the progress made during the recently concluded 9-month standby arrangement. The fiscal adjustment, comprising additional revenue measures, expenditure rationalization, and privatization, is critical for the budget set for presentation on June 6th to 7th. Key strategies include pension reforms, a shift to a real value-added tax system, and significant increases in the petroleum levy to boost non-tax revenue. Protesters disrupted Google's annual I/O conference, blocking an entrance to oppose Project Nimbus, a $1.2 billion contract between Google, Amazon, and the Israeli government for cloud services. Critics, including former Google employee Ronnie Geiger, argue that the technology is being used to develop military tools against Palestinians. The protest featured signs and chants against the project, with organizer Wasim Hague claiming the technology aids in military operations and contributes to violence in Gaza. The blockade ended after several hours. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators at the University of California at Berkeley dismantled their encampment on Tuesday, May 14th, following an agreement for UC Berkeley officials to meet with them. This action comes amidst widespread student protests across the U.S. related to the war in Gaza, with various universities experiencing confrontations, police interventions, and negotiations. While some protests continue, Berkeley's administration has permitted the pro-Palestinian camp under conditions of non-disruption and non-violence. The campus has also seen counter-protests mainly peaceful, except for an isolated scuffle on May 1st. Arab foreign ministers gathered in Bahrain on Tuesday, May 14th, for the ministerial meeting of the Arab League. The ministers are meeting in the capital Manama ahead of the Leaders' Summit on Thursday, May 16th. The summit is expected to bring together delegates from across the Arab world. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is reported to have received an official invitation to participate in the summit. Bahrain has been walking a political tightrope since war erupted in Gaza, as it seeks to ease public fury at a conflict that has killed thousands of Palestinians while preserving a deal with Israel that brought the Gulf state closer to the United States. Villagers in the North 24 Parganas district of West Bengal, India, are grappling with a severe water shortage due to an intense heat wave drying up most local water sources. Many wells have become non-functional, leaving only one operational pump that requires a long walk for some villagers. The primary water source, a large pond, has also nearly dried up, with water levels reduced to ankle depth. The weather department predicts an unusually high number of heat wave days through June, especially affecting the Gangetic Bengal Plains. In northeastern Argentina, in the provinces of Corrientes and Entre Rios, several areas were still flooded on Tuesday as a result of the heavy rains that have hit southern Brazil in recent days. Hundreds of families have been displaced by the flooding of the overflowing Uruguay River. In the province of Entre Rios, the overflowing river has mainly affected the town of Concordia, where a report released by the local authorities on Monday stated that a total of 167 families, comprising 568 people, had been evacuated, of whom 359 were sent to private homes and 209 to evacuation centers. Recent analytics reveal a significant drop in Facebook's referral traffic to major news publishers, with a 50% decrease over the past year, according to Press Gazette. Google's latest core algorithm update in 2024 also contributed to the decline, adversely affecting a vast majority of news outlets. Chartbeat and SimilarWeb, tracking around 792 news sites, noted a dramatic 58% reduction in social media referrals since 2018. The decline in traffic is impacting revenues across the industry, with even the largest UK news publisher, Reach, reporting a 33% drop in page views. Additionally, small publishers are experiencing severe declines, with referrals just 2% of 2018 levels, though youth-focused sites like Unilat and Bust have fared better. The Cannes Film Festival commenced on Tuesday, May 14th, with a star-studded red carpet event at the Grand Theatre Lumiere, celebrating Meryl Streep. The renowned actress received a lengthy ovation as she was honored by Juliette Binoche, who praised Streep's impact on female portrayal in cinema. The opening film, the French comedy The Second Act, featured Les Seydoux and Vincent Lindon, was showcased following the ceremony, which was presided over by this year's jury head Greta Gerwig. Streep, adorned in a white gown and black framed glasses, officially declared the festival open alongside Binoche.